Hello, everyone, and welcome to NPNN, Nurse Practitioner News Network. I'm pleased to have with us today Mrs. Kathy Langer, Nurse Practitioner, and I'm your host, Jill Henry. Kathy, would you tell us a little bit about yourself, about your credentials, how long you've been a nurse practitioner?
Sure. My name is Kathy Langer. I'm a nurse practitioner. I focus in pediatrics. My degree is in family practice. I've been an NP for about 4 years now. I did graduate from an online program that was all self-paced while I was working full-time. And I've been in pediatrics since pretty much the beginning of my NP career.
Awesome, thank you. So tell us a little bit about what our clinic is made up of.
Our clinic is made up of primarily physicians, and we have a lot of nursing staff. We have 2 nurse practitioners, we have MAs, we've got some secretaries, we have a pharmacist, and we have a clinical psychologist in our clinic.
Awesome, thank you. So Kathy, if you can think back to when you first started practicing as a nurse practitioner, what was one or two of the biggest struggles you faced as you transitioned from an RN to an NP?
I think one of the biggest struggles for me was stopping working as a nurse and then moving on to an NP job, because it was hard to find a job, especially since I decided to stop working while I was studying for the boards. So I would actually recommend continuing your position until you study for your boards and you get through that test. They actually looked down upon that. I worked for over 25 years as a nurse, and just taking 2 months off was actually not a good thing.
Wow.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Interesting, that's
Yeah.
good to know, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So consider your scope of practice and regulatory bodies within our state of Colorado. Do you agree with the regulations of your licensure designed by the state?
I do. I've been able to use my licensing in a great way, just to help others. You know, I actually I do some moonlighting up in Breckenridge too. So as a practitioner up there with high altitude sickness. So because I can work wherever I want, I can basically do things like that to help out.
Because you don't have a physician that has to oversee your practice.
Yes.
Are there any changes you would make to the credentialing and clinical privileges in the state of Colorado?
Not that I know of. I really can't think of any.
Okay. All right.
I haven't had a problem with anything, honestly.
Great. Do you consider yourself working in a collaborative practice?
I do consider that. I work with a lot of docs, and I work with a lot of other professionals, physical therapists, occupational therapists, speech therapists. We have a lot of liaisons for our military personnel, through our families. We have a lot of family support, resources, which are great. So there are a lot of positives. There are a lot of challenges too, as far as getting some help here and there from more specialized resources. But working in pediatrics, we do have a really nice window into the children's facility, so they're able to accommodate us whenever we need help.
Awesome. So how often would you say you collaborate with other professionals?
Every day.
Every day.
Yes,
okay.
Every day.
Awesome. Can you provide a clinical scenario where you sought clinical consult with other professionals and how it helped with the patient's outcome?
Yes. There's multiple ones. I talk frequently with some of the providers at Children's Hospital, especially the GI clinic, the gastroenterology physicians, because we do have a lot of children with GI problems. And I have one little boy that was having trouble with his, I wouldn't even go into that one. Well, we could. There's so many. We could do the weight gain. Let's do a weight gain.
Okay.
Baby that's not gaining weight really well. So we kind of follow some protocols to get that baby some help. We first, look at lactation. So we will consult lactation. From there, if that's not working, we'll consult other providers like the GI clinic or the speech therapist for feeding therapy, things like that. And I have had some great success stories. I had one today where a 3-month-old has not been gaining weight, and after multiple visits and finally able to get back in with lactation, which was put on hold. I didn't know if you knew that for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a challenge for us because we were having trouble getting the resources we needed to help these moms. And you can only do so much in a 15-20 minute appointment.
Right.
As much as I wanted to help that mom with breastfeeding, I couldn't, because I was, it was just difficult for me to get a lot of answers from her. This baby is now finally gaining weight, and we were able to get that baby into lactation to get that help, and it's made a world of difference. So, yeah,
That's
just a little bit of extra time and effort really does help.
And they can get that through consultation.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. So the state of Colorado does allow nurse practitioners to practice up to their full level of training and education, including prescriptive authority. According to the most recent legislative session report, the number of mentor hours required in Colorado to gain prescriptive authority are 1,000. Would you please share your own experience with mentorship? Was your mentor a nurse practitioner or a physician?
My first mentor was a physician, primarily in OB. I was not happy with that atmosphere, so I moved on to a family practice office and worked with a DO.
Okay.
He was great. He subsequently ended up retiring within 3 months,
Okay.
but he did help me with my hours. And then when I was hired as a consultant here at Fort Carson, they were able to complete my hours with me. And you basically just needed signatures and the time, and they would oversee. They would not oversee everything I wrote, but if I had questions, I would come to them.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was pretty independent with my prescription, what I was writing, but I still used my resources,
Yes.
especially with children.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So what would you say is the most rewarding part of your career as a pediatric or family nurse practitioner?
I'm kind of getting close to the end of my career. I only have 7 years left. So I intend to stay here. The kids are great. I love the staff. I smile every day. So I'm just happy to come to work every day. I stay busy and I love it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's important.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for those thinking about entering this field? Those of us that are in school for family nurse practitioner, what advice would you give?
Take your time. Make sure that's what you want to do, because it is a full-time commitment. Going from a 3-day-a-week job in nursing for 20-something years, and now going full-time, 40 hours a week plus, and having all of this responsibility, it's a huge change. You're going from a person who's helping your provider to being the provider, and you're making the decisions. So that was difficult to transition to that, and your confidence increases every year as you move on. And I still use my resources. I talk to the providers every day for assistance if I need it, and they've been great. They're very helpful. So don't be afraid to ask questions. That's one of my biggest bits of advice.
That's very good advice.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, Kathy, for speaking with me today.
You're welcome.
And I feel like I've learned so much from you, and working with you has been a pleasure.
Awesome. Good. I hope it helps.
It does.